Beautiful stage of them all, but the overall race, this Tour de France, belongs to a certain young Colombian. Sagan Bernal has ridden to glory and into the history books as the new winner of the Tour de France, the youngest rider to ever win the Maillot Jaune and the first Colombian to win the biggest bike race of them all. His teammate Geraint Thomas beside him, and Kruijswijk taking his first Grand Tour podium at the age of 32. The 9th Dutchman to stand on this podium in history. Well, Brian Smith, Sir Bradley and Dan are alongside me to continue the party. For those watching online, we have discussed an awful lot about the prodigious talent of Sagan Bernal already, but Bradley, from one Tour de France winner to another, what is it about this young man's talent that makes him so special? Is it his cool head? Is it the way he can climb? Is it a mixture of everything?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a supreme talent, you know, physically he's got everything. You know, he can time trial, he can ride the mountains, but mentally that's the big thing in this Tour de France. To win a Tour de France, to win a Grand Tour, as Dan said earlier in transmission, that, you know, he's won Paris-Nice this year, he's won the Tour of Swiss, he's broke his collarbone, he was supposed to start the Giro, he didn't start the Giro, he came into the Tour. He's in a team full of superstars in terms of Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas. He's mature beyond his years as an athlete, but there's still that adolescence in him when, like we saw the other day when Matt went to interview him in team, and it's just like this small child who realises what he's done. He broke down in emotion the other day when he took the yellow jersey. But the way he's ridden is phenomenal, really, and he recalibrates. And naturally, I say that, I keep saying it, but Dave has to take a lot of credit for that, because Dave is someone who keeps things into perspective. When he took that 2:20 time loss, you know, most riders, including myself, would have probably think, well, I haven't got the form, the tour's over. He would have still had a job to do for G, which he did, and you know, he lived up to that. But we saw him on the Tourmalet gaining time, you know, just taking small chunks of time here and there, and in the last few days he's been clearly the strongest rider in this race. And
Dan, we can see the 3 jersey classifications here, because of course Sagan Bernal has 2. He's got the yellow jersey and the young rider's white jersey. Romain Bardet taking King of the Mountains, Peter Sagan taking his 7th green jersey. For all sorts of reasons, different kinds of celebrations there.
Yes, we talked before the stage, didn't we, about the fact that we haven't spoken much about Peter Sagan, because you just assume he's going to take the green jersey. 7 times he's won it now, and you can imagine him going on to 10 in total. I saw a photo from our mutual friend Richard Moore earlier with Romain Bardet in a polka dot jersey watching the Tour de France when he was 6 or 7 years old. It's a bit like Brad talking on the bike earlier about how he was here watching the Tour de France back in the 90s. It must mean so much to you when you come to watch the race at the roadside, especially wearing a polka dot jersey, and now he's going home in one.
And can you imagine little kids watching this Tour de France for the first time, Brian? We have been spoiled over the last 3 weeks of racing, haven't we?
Well, like both Dan and Brad, I spent my 16th birthday in Italy. I was
We're
taking a family holiday.
1959.
Yeah, no, it was before that, Bradley. You should know that. You should know my age, because you're close to it. And I remember we went into you know, the hotel, and on the screen there was the Tour de France, and I can remember watching Robert Miller take his first ever stage win, and that inspired me. I didn't know anything about Tour de France. You know, I was just interested in football. We've got a local football team in Paisley called St Mirren. I supported them. I wanted to play for them, never get any chance. And I didn't enjoy cycling when I first started. I actually hated it. It was so hard. But then I took it up, and yeah, you need people that inspire you.
Did you just win a bet to get St Mirren on the telly from the Champs-Elysees? Because that was quite good.
No, I just won a season ticket, that's all.
Bradley, since we're going down memory lane, this is your first time back at the Tour de France since you won it in 2012. What's the experience been like for you standing here with the sun setting over Paris?
It's been phenomenal, and actually it's been better being on this side of the fence. It's like being a supporter, it's like being a kid
You've never
again.
had much champagne on the other side of the fence.
Oh, it's just brilliant. And the proximity I've had to the race it's been an absolute pleasure to be there, and an honour to be on that motorbike and talking to the guys, and just getting guys coming back from having a wee and things, and just having a little nod and things, you know. And I've had my phone out most of the time, and just it's been the highlight really of my life in cycling, if I'm honest.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I
those
never
jackets have been a particular highlight for the rest of us as well.
Yeah, but that's how I walk around Manchester. I mean, that's, you know, that's Jean-Michel Monin, who was a Team Pursuit Olympic champion. I had more champagne today. I was trying to get around all 21 cars, but it was just coming back onto the Champs-Elysees. I mean, we're here now, the sun has set. It is the most spectacular setting, isn't it, to finish? It's the most iconic setting in cycling, other than maybe Paris-Roubaix, which is for the die-hard fans, but millions of people around the world, you know, where does the Tour de France finish? Everyone knows it finishes in Paris, don't they?
If you were to explain, Dan, to someone who has watched this Tour de France as their first ever tour, and lucky them, explain what has made it so special. Why has this year captured our imaginations more than arguably any other race over the last 3 decades?
Because we didn't know what was going to happen until 3 days to go. You know, despite the fact that I did predict Bernal 3 weeks ago.
I did as well.
Yeah,
Boring.
well done, mate.
But I changed my mind about 6 times through this race. So.
In each programme.
Which is good, isn't it? It shows that it was so unpredictable.
But it's the same in any sport, isn't it? You know, there are football matches where it's 4-0 at half-time. You know that nothing's going to change by the end of it, and it can be the same in Grand Tours. But we all want Grand Tours where you're left in suspense until at least the final week, and we had even longer than that this year. You know, 3 days to go. We still weren't sure whether Alaphilippe would definitely crack or not. He finally did. We had all sorts of things with landslides and stuff. It was dramatic till the end, and I just thought it was a brilliant addition to the race.
Brian, what's your highlight been over the last 3 weeks?
Well, I haven't slept that much over the last 3 nights because I keep on waking up with Brad going, and back to the commentators, and back to the...
It's haunting your dreams.
You went to bed, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'm bolt upright at night going, where is he, where is he? I have absolute nightmares. But my best moment is Alaphilippe at the end of his time trial. Not only had he demolished the field, but he jumped off the time trial bike, threw it down, and he was like, oh, it's so emotional, so emotional.
He was a man possessed with this race, wasn't he? Well, let's bring some sense to proceedings, thanks to Laura Messiger. She has been speaking to third place at this year's race, Stephen Kruijswijk.
How it's been these 3 weeks for the team and for you in your case?
Yeah, for us it was superb. We had 4 stage wins, and we got the podium in Paris. So I think we achieved everything we wanted, and I think also we showed really we can work as a team together with different goals, and yeah, we help each other a lot. And I think we were one of the best teams in this Tour de France, and I only can be happy that everybody enjoyed this race, watching the race, and everybody said it was exciting till the last moment. So I'm happy to be part of it.
Congratulations, thank you.
Well, as Stephen Kruijswijk said, Dan, one of the best teams in this year's race. 4, I think, stage wins it was in the end, with a podium spot. I mean, that team have done phenomenal things at this year's Tour de France.
Well, the whole year they've been absolutely incredible. But to take 3 sprint wins with 3 different riders, I don't know the last time that happened with any team, really. You know, the very first day, Mike Turnison taking over the mantle when Groenewegen had only crashed 2 minutes before that. And then Wout van Aert doing exactly the same thing. And Wout van Aert's win for me was really special because, let's not forget, Ewan and Viviani were both in that group, Sagan there too. He still managed to take the victory when that day he was supposed to be working for Groenewegen, so that team must be on a complete high at the end of this race.
Well, we heard Egan Bernal's emotional speech on the Champs-Élysées earlier. We've just heard from Stephen Kruijswijk, so let's hear from the filling in that podium sandwich. Geraint Thomas has been chatting to Laura as well.
Geraint Thomas, again in the podium of the Tour de France, very different from last year, but how does it feel to be here at second place after Egan Bernal?
Yeah, it's obviously slightly mixed emotions, but at the same time I can be proud how, like 2 years ago, I was here with my arm in a sling, broken collarbone, watching Froome win his 4th, and just devastated that I wasn't able to just ride my bike. So 2 years on, I'm slightly disappointed not to win a second Tour, which is crazy really. So I'm proud of how I managed to get myself into decent enough shape. It hasn't been a smooth run into the Tour or during really, but this team is incredible, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of, and to be part of Egan winning his first, which I'm sure first of many. So yeah, and to be stood on the podium as second is still a big achievement.
This is one of the most interesting Tour de France in decades. So how has it been living from inside, being part of it, racing every day?
Well, I'm glad to be going home tomorrow and just switch off, close the front door and just get away, because emotionally, mentally and physically it's been draining, and it's enjoyable. You know, it's the pinnacle of the sport and what you dream of from when you're a kid, but at the same time, it's been hard work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to switching off and just spending a bit of time with family now.
And are you going to rewatch the stages?
No, I haven't even rewatched last year, so maybe when I'm old and grey and sat in my front room, fat with a beer belly, with a whiskey, I can reminisce then.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thanks.
Ah, there's a visual image, eh? That you won't shake from your heads anytime soon. Bradley, he looked tired, understandably exhausted. Is he the kind of man who can find that hunger in him again to go for another Tour win?
Absolutely. G's a real winner. G lives for this sport. He lives for his job. Obviously, he's a real family man as well, but he will have learnt so much this season. You know, it almost went too well for him last year, didn't it? There was no pressure on him. There was no expectation because it was all about Chris Froome. They've not had Chris Froome this year, and G has stepped up as the ultimate team leader, the father figure, the one who's guided Egan Bernal through, but he had the legs to win himself. And I think he will take a lot from this season, and I think you can see that he craves a little bit of normality now because he's been under a lot of pressure this season. Obviously, the winter he had, you know, the elevation of fame in the UK. Coming back, as he said, he's proud of himself to get back to the fitness levels he's at, so that will give him confidence going into it. He'll have a very different winter now this year in terms of normality. Obviously, the level of fame, he's used to that now. And he'll come back a lot stronger. He's got another tour win in him for sure. You also got to remember, you know, during the tour last year, most people were saying Geraint can't win this tour, even though he's in the lead. He's never proven. He's never been in the top 10 of a Grand Tour in his life before. He'll crack, like we were saying about Alaphilippe. He'll crack in the final week of the race. And this year we're saying, how disappointed is he going to be with second place? You know, it's by far his second best result in his entire career at a Grand Tour, which shows the pedigree of the guy, even though he hasn't had the best preparation. So he's definitely got another one in him for me.
Say Welsh cakes.
Welsh cakes. Pardon?
It's the Welsh cakes.
Did you think he said say Welsh cakes?
I thought he said say Welsh cakes. I said Welsh cakes, and I thought there was a punchline coming. Anyway, Bradley mentioned normality. One man who doesn't know normality compared to the rest of us. Anyway, is Peter Sagan. Here he is chatting to Laura as well.
Peter, congratulations for that green jersey. You make history today, a new record in the books of cycling. How does it feel?
Yeah, history for a green jersey. That's nice. At least something.
What do you have that the others don't have so you can achieve this green jersey?
I'm very happy and very glad that I could achieve something like this because, well, green jersey is something for me like yellow for, I don't know, the GC riders. Then I'm very happy that I could hold the record, and if somebody gonna make it, he gonna think twice if I gonna do it or not.
What's been your favorite moment at the tour?
Sorry?
Your favorite moment at the tour?
Well, the victory and when I crossed the finish line today.
Thank you, congratulations.
We don't see that side of us.
We're just watching Peter Sagan smiling there and discussing the level of sacrifice that it takes to get to this stage, Bradley. And it's easy to celebrate and to fit these wonderful athletes and all that they do achieve, but everything that goes into this sport in particular is especially brutal.
It is. I know about Peter Sagan's life outside this. It's easy to play Peter Sagan. It's very easy to be him. It's probably a lot harder to be him when he goes away from this circus that we're involved in. He's a performer. He's a very extrovert character, but I'm sure inside he's like most of us. You know, most of us underneath are very normal people, and he's a lovely guy. I mean, we had him up here the other week. It was an absolute pleasure, wasn't it, when we had him here? He's a phenomenal athlete. The sport really needs him, but I'm sure Peter really needs that normality as well when he goes away from it and needs to recoup. And obviously we spoke to him the other day. He's looking forward to coming to the UK and do the World Championships in Leeds. But he's phenomenal. He entertains us so much, and we have a lot to thank him for.
Yeah, it's a true joy to watch. I'm afraid for him and for many others here, normality doesn't await tonight. It's a party. Dan, do you remember what your party was like in 2010 when you rode onto the Champs-Élysées?
Well, Jeremy Hunt was there, wasn't he? So it must have been very good.
Yeah, so I don't remember it.
The rider, not the politician.
I vaguely remember it, yeah. I mean, we had a boat, which I think we're getting onto this evening, but it finished a lot earlier back in those days. It was like 5:30, so I had a lot more drinking time than we got this year.
I'm sure you squish it in.
Yeah, in an hour. No, it was good. It's all a bit of a blur, really, for me. I just wasn't expecting to ever be there, really, in the first place. And although I made a mental note at the start of the tour that I did, I'm probably never going to be back here, so I need to remember as much of it as I possibly can. And I've forgotten most of it, even though I made that mental note. I probably should have kept some sort of diary, but the last night was good, yeah. Although, I've got one story from the last night, is that we all had separate rooms because the families came over and said, well, given us an extra few rooms in the hotel. And quite often, if a rider wins a jersey of note or whatever, they'll get a gift for their teammates, etc. Tour was looking good for green that year, so I think he'd pre-bought the gifts. He'd decided, well, I haven't won green, but I'll give it to them anyway. But everybody else got this nice watch, and there wasn't one in my room. So I sort of turned up, and no one really knew what to say, because I was like, what are those watches? And they was, did you not get one? And I said, no. In the end, he had got me one. He just hadn't found where my room was. But for a moment, I thought, why has he got everyone else a watch and not me?
You horrible man.
It's like being the last one picked for the school team,
I've got
isn't
better
it?
stories than that, but yeah.
We'll save them for after hours. Bradley, you didn't get to celebrate very much whenever you won the Tour de France, and it's been doing the rounds, of course, that yesterday, 7 years since you rang the bell at the opening ceremony. Will you get to celebrate a little bit tonight, your first night back in Paris since then?
Maybe, yeah, I'm sure. I remember doing an interview over there in the Ritz with you, for Sky, didn't we? And then we obviously got back that night because, of course, it was the Olympic road race just 5 days later, and everything was obviously for Mark Cavendish at that time. So, yeah, we kind of missed that whole celebration there. But to be honest, I didn't really care, to be honest, because Monday morning in Paris is no fun, is it, when you've done the Tour de France? And you've got to pack, and all the stuff, your dead bag, which is the second bag you have because you've got that much stuff. You always accumulate more stuff on the Tour de France. Your kids are harassing you at 6 in the morning to get up. You've got a hangover. You've raced for 3 weeks. You're normally getting a massage. Everyone does everything for you, and then you've got to get back to reality and do it all yourself.
What about you, Brian? Some dancing tonight, some moves?
I might do a wee Highland fling or two. You never know. I might even smile.
Help us all. We might even get that on camera. You never know. I want to say thank you to all of you. It has been an absolute pleasure travelling around the roads of France for the last 3 weeks. Thank you to the entire team, to everyone that you see on camera and everyone behind us here as well, both here in Paris and in London. It has been a privilege bringing you this wonderful Tour de France, and thank you, all of you, for watching and keeping us company along the way. Well, if you missed any of today's racing, you can once again watch the highlights one last time. That is at 11 o'clock tonight on Eurosport 1. We're not done for the year, despite our goodbyes, because we will be back on the road for the Vuelta from the 24th of August. Get your laundry done, boys. We don't have much time.
I've only got 4 weeks away from you. Oh, God.
Can't wait already. And if you're dreading the Tour de France come down, then the Bradley Wiggins show will be back with you. He'll have a latest podcast, I'm sure, maybe an after-hours one from the final day of the Tour de France. From us, no, for now, from Paris, in the most beautiful stage of the most beautiful sport. Thank you and good night. Merci, bonne nuit.
Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, 2 sunny cities, 1 break.
The Tour de France on Eurosport,